Chapter 6 of Book 3 of Physics by Aristotle, translated by Thomas Taylor. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Jeffrey Edwards. Chapter 6. In the first place, therefore, we must define in how many modes the infinite may be said to subsist. According to one mode, then, that is called infinite which is not naturally adapted to be passed through, just as voice is said to be invisible. But according to another mode, that is infinite the passage through which is without an end, or which has scarcely an end, or which, though naturally adapted to be passed through or to have an end, yet has not. Again, everything which is infinite is so either by addition or division, or according to both these modes. It is not possible, therefore, that the infinite, which is itself a certain infinite, should have a subsistence separate from sensibles. For if the infinite is neither magnitude nor multitude, but essence and not accident, it will be indivisible, for that which is divisible will either be magnitude or multitude. But if it is indivisible, it will not be infinite unless in the same manner as voice is invisible. Those, however, who say that there is the infinite do not assert that it thus subsists, nor do we investigate it as a thing of this kind, but as that which cannot be passed through. But if the infinite subsists according to accident, it will not be the element of beings so far as it is infinite, as neither is the invisible the element of speech, although voice is invisible. Further still, how is it possible that anything should be the infinite itself, since neither number nor magnitude can be so, of which the infinite is a certain essential passive quality? For it is still less necessary that there should be infinite than that there should be number or magnitude. It is also evident that it is not possible for the infinite to be, as subsisting in energy, and as essence and a principle. For whatever part of it is assumed will be infinite if it is partible, for the essence of infinite and the infinite are the same, since the infinite is essence or substance, and is not predicated of a subject. Hence it is either indivisible or divisible into infinites. But it is impossible that there can be many infinites in the same thing. As air, however, is a part of air, so likewise infinite is a part of infinite, if it is essence and a principle. It is therefore impartible and indivisible. But this is impossible, since it is infinite in energy, for it is necessary that it should be a certain quantum. The infinite, therefore, subsists according to accident. But if this be the case, it has been said that it cannot be called a principle, but this appellation must be given to that to which it is an accident, viz., air, or the even number, so that they pronounce absurdly who thus speak, as the Pythagoreans assert, for at the same time they make the infinite to be essence, and distribute it into parts. Chapter 7. Perhaps, however, this inquiry is more universal, whether it be possible that the infinite can subsist in mathematical entities, in intelligibles, and in things which have no magnitude. But we consider with respect to sensibles, and those things which we make the subject of our discussion, whether body, infinite in augmentation, is in these or not. To those, therefore, who consider the affair logically, it may seem that there is not, from the following arguments. For if the definition of body is that which is bounded by superficies, there will not be an infinite body, neither intelligible nor sensible, but neither will there be number, so as to be separate and infinite, for number, or that which possesses number, is numerable. If, therefore, that which is numerable can be numbered, it will be possible for the infinite to be passed through. But to those who consider the affair more physically, it will be evident that there cannot be a body of infinite magnitude from the following arguments. For it can neither be composite nor simple. An infinite body, therefore, will not be a composite if the elements are finite in number, for it is necessary that contraries should always be more than one, and be equalized, and that one of them should not be infinite. For if the power in one body should be in any manner whatever surpassed by the power of another, as for instance, if fire is finite, but air is infinite, and equal fire surpasses in power equal air, however much it may be multiplied, if it only possesses a certain number, yet at the same time it is manifest that the infinite will surpass and corrupt that which is finite. But it is impossible that each of the elements should be infinite, for that is body which has interval on all sides, and that is infinite which has extension without bound, so that an infinite body will be extended on all sides to infinity. Neither can an infinite body be one and simple, nor, as some say, that which is beside the elements from which these are generated. Nor, in short, can it have any subsistence, for there are some who make this infinite to be neither air nor water, lest other things should be destroyed by the infinity of these, since they possess contrariety to each other. Thus air is cold, but water is moist, and fire is hot, of which, if there is one infinite, other things would have been already corrupted. But now they say that is different from which all these are produced. It is, however, impossible that there can be a thing of this kind, not because it is infinite, for concerning this something common must be said, which similarly accords with every body, viz., with air and water, and any other whatever, but because there is no such sensible body beside those that are called the elements, for everything is dissolved into that from which it is composed, so that here there would be something else beside air and fire, earth and water. But there does not appear to be any such thing. Neither fire, therefore, nor any other of the elements can be infinite. For, in short, exclusively of some one of them being infinite, it is impossible that the universe, although it be finite, can either be or be generated some one of them, conformably to what Heraclitus says, that all things once were fire. There is also the same reason in the one body, which natural philosophers introduce beside the elements. For all things are changed from one contrary into another, as for instance from the hot into the cold. But it is necessary also from these things to consider, respecting every body, whether it is possible or not, that there can be an infinite sensible body. In short, however, that it is impossible there can be a body sensible and infinite is evident from hence, that everything sensible is naturally adapted to be somewhere, that there is some place of everything, and that there is the same place of the part and of the whole, as of the whole earth and one clod, and of fire and a spark. So that if this infinite sensible body is of one form, it will either be immovable or always borne along, though this is impossible, for why should it rather be carried downward than upward, or anywhere else? I mean, for instance, if it is a clod of earth, where will it be moved? Or where will it abide? For the place is infinite of a body kindred to it. Whether, therefore, will it occupy the whole place? And in what manner? What likewise and where will be its permanency and its motion? Or will it be everywhere permanent? It will not, therefore, be moved. Or will it be everywhere moved? It will not, therefore, be at rest. But if the universe is dissimilar, places also will be dissimilar. And first, there will not be one body of the universe except by contact. Secondly, these will either be finite or infinite in species, and they cannot indeed be finite, for some will be infinite and others not, if the universe be infinite, as for instance, water or fire. But a thing of this kind brings destruction to contraries, as we have before observed. Hence, no one of the physiologists has made either fire or earth to be one and infinite, but water or air, or that which is a medium between these, because the place of each, viz., of fire and earth, is evidently definite, and these verge to the upper and lower region. But if the parts are infinite and simple, the places also will be infinite, and there will be infinite elements. If, however, this is impossible and places are finite, it is also necessary that the whole should be finite. For it is impossible that body and place should not be equal in dimensions, since neither is the whole place so great as not to be able to admit at the same time body, though at the same time neither will body be infinite, nor is body greater than place. For otherwise there will either be a vacuum, or a body which is naturally adapted to be nowhere. Anaxagoras, however, speaks absurdly concerning the permanency of the infinite. For he says that the infinite itself supports itself, and this because it is in itself, for nothing else contains it, as if where anything is, it is naturally there. But this is not true, for a thing may be situated in a certain place by force, and not where it is naturally adapted to be. If, therefore, the whole is by no means moved, for that which is established in itself and is in itself is necessarily immovable, yet it should be said why it is not naturally adapted to be moved. For it is not just that he who thus speaks should be dismissed, since there may be anything else which is not moved, but nothing hinders it from being naturally adapted to be moved. For earth also is not borne along, nor, if it were infinite, could it be locally moved in consequence of being restrained by the middle. It would not, however, remain in the middle, because there is not any other place into which it could be moved, but because it is not natural to it so to be moved, though indeed it might be said that the earth supports itself. If, therefore, this is not the cause of the permanency of the earth if it were infinite, but its gravity is the cause, and that which is heavy abides in the middle, and the earth is in the middle, in like manner also the infinite will abide in itself through some other cause, and not because it is infinite, and will itself support itself. At the same time, likewise, it is manifest that it is necessary every part of it should abide. For as the infinite abides supported in itself, so likewise whatever part of it is assumed will abide in itself. For the places of the whole and the part are of the same species, as of the whole earth and a clod the place is downward, and of the whole of fire and a spark the place is upward. So that if the place of the infinite is in itself, there will be the same place also of a part of the infinite. It will abide, therefore, in itself. And in short, it is evident that it is impossible to say that there is an infinite body, and at the same time that there is a certain place for bodies, if every sensible body either possesses gravity or levity. And if it is heavy, it has a natural tendency to the middle, but if light, it naturally tends upward. For it is necessary that an infinite body should be such. But it is impossible that the whole should be passive in either way, or the half in both ways. For how will you divide, or how will one part of the infinite be above and another below? Or how will it have extremes or a middle? Further still, every sensible body is in place, but the species and differences of place are upward and downward, before and behind, to the right hand and to the left, and these things not only thus subsist with relation to us, and by position, but have a definite subsistence in the universe itself. But it is impossible that these things should be in the infinite, and in short, it is impossible that there should be an infinite place. But every body is in place, and therefore it is also impossible that there should be an infinite body. That likewise which is somewhere is in place, and that which is in place is somewhere. If therefore the infinite cannot be a quantum, for in this case it would be of some definite quantity, as for instance of 2 cubits or 3 cubits, since these signify a definite quantity, so likewise with respect to that which is in place, because it is somewhere, but this is either upward or downward, or in some other of the 6 intervals, each of which is a certain boundary. From these things, therefore, it is evident that there is not an infinite body in energy. Chapter 8. That many absurdities, however, will happen if the infinite has not any subsistence whatever is evident. For of time there will be some beginning and end. Magnitudes also will not be divisible into magnitude, and number will not be infinite. But this being determined, since it does not appear that either of these consequences can be admitted, on this account it is evident that the infinite in one respect is, and in another respect is not. But one thing is said to have a subsistence in capacity, and another in energy, and the infinite partly subsists by addition, and partly by ablation. With respect to magnitude, however, that it is not infinite in energy we have already said, but it is infinite by division. For it is not difficult to subvert the hypothesis of indivisible lines. It remains, therefore, that the infinite is in capacity. That, however, which is infinite in capacity is not to be assumed as that which will be infinite in energy, in the same manner as if this thing has the capacity of becoming a statue, it will be a statue. But since being is predicated in many ways, as a day is, and a contest is, because another and another is always becoming to be, so also is the infinite. For in these there is both capacity and energy. For the Olympic games are both because a contest may be effected, and because it is becoming to be. But the infinite is manifest differently in time, in men, and in the division of magnitudes. For in short, the infinite thus subsists because another and another part may always be assumed, and that which is assumed is always finite, but there is always another and another part, so that the infinite must not be considered as this particular thing, as for instance a man or a house, but as a day and a contest are said to subsist, the being of which is not generated as a certain essence, but always consists in generation or corruption, which, though they are finite, yet there is always another and another. This, however, happens in magnitudes, that remaining which was assumed, but in men and time, these being corrupted so as not to fail. But the infinite, according to addition, is in a certain respect the same as that according to division. For in that which is finite according to addition, it takes place conversely, since, so far as it is seen to be divisible to infinity, so far it appears to be added to that which is finite. For in a finite magnitude, if any one, assuming a definite part, again assumes it in the same ratio, not taking the same part of the whole in that ratio, he will not arrive at the end of the finite magnitude. But if he so increases the ratio as always to assume the same magnitude, he will arrive at the end, because every finite quantity is consumed by any finite quantity. The infinite, therefore, does not subsist in any other way than this, for it has its being in capacity, and in division, and diminution. It is also in energy, in the same manner as we say a day and a contest are. It is likewise in capacity, in the same manner as matter, and it does not subsist per se like that which is finite. Hence it is thus infinite in capacity, according to addition, because we say it is after a certain manner the same as the infinite according to division, for it is always possible to assume something beyond it. It does not, however, on this account surpass every definite magnitude, as in division it surpasses every definite magnitude, and will be less, so that it is not possible for the infinite to surpass every magnitude by addition, even in capacity, unless the infinite should be in energy from accident, according to the assertion of those physiologists who introduce an infinite body beyond the world, the essence of which is air, or some other infinite of this kind. But if it is not possible that an infinite sensible body can thus subsist in energy, it is evident that neither can the infinite, according to addition, subsist in capacity, unless, as we have said, in a manner, vice versa to division. For Plato also, on this account, introduces two infinites, because both in increase and diminution there appears to be transcendency, and a progression to infinity. Though, however, he introduced two, he did not use them. For neither is there infinity in numbers by diminution or division, since unity is a minimum, nor by increase, for he extends number as far as to the decad. Chapter 9. The infinite, however, happens to subsist in a way contrary to what it is asserted to be by others. For the infinite is not that beyond which there is nothing, but it is that of which there is always something beyond. The truth of this is evinced in rings, which are said to be infinite because they have not the part in which the seal is fixed, on which account something beyond may always be assumed, though this is said according to a certain similitude, and not properly. For it is necessary that this property should be inherent, and that the same thing should never be assumed. But this is not the case in a circle, since that alone which is successive is always different. The infinite, therefore, is this, of which some quantity being taken, it is always possible to assume something beyond. But that pertaining to which there is nothing beyond is perfect and a whole. For thus we define the whole, that of which nothing is absent pertaining to the parts, as for instance, the whole man, or the whole chest. But as we define particulars, so likewise that which has a proper and principal subsistence, as for instance, the whole is that pertaining to which there is nothing beyond, but that pertaining to which something external is absent, that is not all, whatever it may be that is absent. With respect, however, to the whole and the perfect, they are either entirely the same or allied by nature. But nothing is perfect which has not an end, and the end is a bound. On this account it is proper to think that Parmenides spoke better than Melissos. For the latter says that the infinite is a whole, but the former that the whole is finite, and equally balanced from the middle. For to conjoin the infinite with the universe and the whole is not to connect line with line. Chapter 10. Hence also they assume those venerable conceptions of the infinite, such as that it comprehends all things, and that it contains the universe in itself, in consequence of possessing a certain similitude with the whole. For the infinite is the matter of the perfection of magnitude, and is the whole in capacity, but not in energy. But it is divisible by diminution and reciprocal addition. It is also a whole and finite, not essentially, but through another, and it does not comprehend, but is comprehended so far as it is infinite. Hence also it is unknown, so far as infinite, for matter has not form. So that it is evident that the infinite has rather the relation of a part than of a whole, for matter is a part of the whole, just as brass is a part of a brazen statue. If, however, it comprehends both insensibles and intelligibles, the great and the small, it is also necessary that it should comprehend intelligibles. But it is absurd and impossible that what is unknown and indefinite should comprehend and bound. Chapter 11. It happens, however, agreeably to reason, that the infinite should not by addition appear so as to surpass every magnitude, but that this should be effected by division. For as matter is comprehended within, so likewise the infinite. But form comprehends. It is also conformable to reason that in number the boundary should be in that which is least, but that in a progression to a greater multitude every multitude should always be surpassed, and that in magnitudes the contrary should take place. For in a progression to that which is least, every magnitude is surpassed, but in a progression to that which is a greater, there is not infinite magnitude. But this is because the one is indivisible, whatever one it may be. Thus man is one man, and not many men. But number is more than one, and is certain quantities, so that it is necessary to stop at the indivisible. For 2 and 3 are paronymus names, and in like manner every other number. But we may always conceive a progression to the more, for the bisections of magnitude are infinite, so that the infinite is in capacity, and not in energy, but always that which is assumed, surpasses every definite multitude. This number, however, is not separate from the bisection, nor does the infinity remain, but is generated in the same manner as time, and the number of time. But in magnitudes the contrary takes place. For continued quantity is indeed divisible to infinity, but there is not an infinite progression to that which is greater. For as much as can be in capacity, so much also may be in energy, so that since no sensible magnitude is infinite, it is not possible that there should be a transcendency of every definite magnitude. For if this were possible, there would be something greater than the universe. The infinite, however, is not the same in motion, magnitude, and time, as if it were one certain nature, but the posterior is denominated with relation to the prior. Thus motion is called infinite because the magnitude is prior in which it is moved, or changed in quality, or increased, but time is infinite through motion. At present, therefore, we use these, but afterward we shall endeavor to say what each of them is, and why every magnitude may be divided into magnitudes. What we have said, however, does not subvert the theory of mathematicians, while it denies that the infinite subsists in such a manner as to be an energy with respect to increase, as that which cannot be passed through. For mathematicians do not now want, nor do they use the infinite, but they only assume that such quantity as they wish to employ is finite. But any other magnitude whatever may be divided in the same manner as the greatest magnitude. It is of no consequence, therefore, with respect to the demonstration, if it should be made in a lesser line, but the infinite will be in those magnitudes which have a subsistence. Chapter 12. Since, however, causes receive a fourfold division, it is evident that the infinite is a cause as matter, that the essence of it is privation, and that the continuous and the sensible are that which is an essential subject. But it is manifest that all others use the infinite as matter, on which account also it is absurd to make the infinite that which comprehends, and not that which is comprehended. Chapter 13. It now remains that we enumerate the reasons through which the infinite appears not only to subsist in capacity, but as that which is definite. For some of these reasons are not necessary, and against others certain other true objections may be urged. For neither is it necessary that there should be an infinite sensible body in energy in order that generation may not fail, since it is possible that the corruption of one thing may be the generation of another, since the universe is finite. Further still, to touch and to be finite differ from each other, for the former is a relative and pertains to a certain thing, since whatever touches something, and is an accident to something finite. But that which is finite is not a relative, nor can anything whatever touch anything whatever. To believe likewise in the existence of infinite magnitude, because it can be conceived, is absurd. For excess and defect are not in the thing, but in the conception of it. For any one may conceive each of us to be manifoldly greater than he is, by increasing him infinitely. Yet a man will not on this account surpass a city in dimensions, or be of such a magnitude as we possess, because some one has conceived him to be so, but because he does possess such a magnitude. This, however, is accidental. But time, motion, and intellection are infinite, that which is assumed not remaining. But magnitude is neither infinite by diminution, nor by intellective increase. And thus concerning the infinite we have shown in what manner it is, and in what manner it is not, and what it is. End of Book 3 of Physics. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.